I'll just go ahead and be honest. I honestly think that Mako absolutely is the best ship and the best option for Zuko. And I do have several options as to why I think that. Like, I'm not just gonna say that as like an aesthetic thing. Like, no, I actually think that is the best relationship for Zuko to have, and the one that would probably be the most healthy, right? The reason why, I'm going to start with Jinko. The reason why I don't think Jinko is a very good ship for Zuko is because, like, I think when people, look, I'm going to be honest about this too. Like, I might piss a couple people off, but this is what I really think. I really think that the reason why people ship Jin with Zuko is because they really want to ship her with themselves, right? Like, she has a very, very, like, attractive character design, and she's, like, basically like that kind of, like, girl next door kind of, like, character, like that, basically what a lot of, men or lonely men in real life would probably want out of a woman, and I think that's the reason why people ship him so much with Zuko is because, like, I think what they're kind of doing is projecting onto Zuko, right? And the reason why I say that is because even though in the episode, like, I'm not gonna deny it, Zuko did say that he enjoyed the date that he went on with Jin. If you really kind of pay attention to that date, you'll realize that, like, the writers were never trying to go for, like, they were never trying to imply that Zuko would ever have much of a romantic connection to Jin, right? The whole point of Jin and the whole point of that episode, I think, is mostly to advance Zuko's current character arc at the time. And Zuko's current character arc at that time was basically, I could have a really good life in Ba Sing Se, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to prevent that from happening because I don't want to let go of the fact that I should be on the throne of the Fire Nation, right? And that's what Zuko's whole arc in Ba Sing Se is basically about. It's about him struggling to come to terms with not even having a chance to, like, go back home and become Fire Lord. Because Zuko's whole deal was, if I find the Avatar and I capture him, I get to come home and I get to regain my honor, right? Obviously, that was meant to be like a fool's errand. Like, no one actually thought that Zuko would be able to do that. But then Aang actually showed up, so things changed, right? But after Zuko, like, basically was, like, revealed to be actively treasonous to the Fire Nation by being the Blue Spirit, and they got, like, him and Iroh got exiled, right? After that happened, basically, there was no hope of Zuko ever regaining his honor and going to the Fire Nation, at least in his eyes. Like, he was obviously able to do it, but that's only because Azula lied for him. That was the only reason, right? So that is basically the background to this ship. The background to this ship is Jin is only really there to further Zuko's story, right? It's supposed to be kind of like a tragic thing of anybody in real life would want to be Jin's boyfriend. Like, she's, like, basically the perfect girl, right? Like, she's super nice. She has kind of like a, she has kind of like a more, like, eccentric personality. She's very sweet. Like, she has all the traits, or at least the superficial ones, that we would want, in a girlfriend, right? But Zuko is, like, deliberately trying not to make a life in Ba Sing Se and not to be happy. So, like, it was never gonna work with her, at least at that point. Now, look, I will say that I do think that there is a possibility that later on, right, like, if Zuko were to come back after, like, he had kind of, like, had his arc about regaining his honor, I think those two would have like, a much better chance at a relationship then, right? But I don't think that they really ever had a chance of a relationship when it was actually happening. Jin and Zuko could never have worked when they actually went on a date. But after Zuko had kind of regained his honor, had went through the arc, then they would have a much better chance, I feel. Like, I'll entertain that. I'll entertain that they could have had like a romantic relationship then. But even then, I think if we examine both of their personalities, I still don't think that it would work, right? And it's not just their personality, it's also like their life circumstances. That would also kind of get into this. And I think that is fair to bring those things up because circumstances in life do impact relationships, even if there is chemistry there. I think that there could be more chemistry with them, especially after Zuko mellowed out. But the main problem is going to come down to personality, and it's going to come down to like, I feel like occupation. And what I mean by personality is, like, Jin kind of comes off. I can't prove this, and I guess there probably is a little evidence to the contrary. But in my opinion, Jin comes off as the kind of girl who, like, probably wants to have some adventures and wants to travel a little bit, but probably not too far from home. Like, she probably doesn't want to live the kind of life that Zuko lives, where he's constantly on the move sometimes, or other times he's constantly in one place having to do very, very important, like, leadership stuff. Like, I don't think that that's the kind of person that Jin would be. I think Jin would be somewhere in the middle, where she would maybe crave a little bit of adventure, but I don't think she would want to constantly be going around the world on missions and trips, especially like the kind that like Fire Lord Zuko would have to go on. And I also don't think that she would be comfortable with like a lot of people, I wonder if she knew that Zuko's a firebender, and the way they kind of portray it is like she'd be stupid if she didn't. But I to be honest, I've always kind of found that moment confusing, because I'm like, if she knew that he was actually a firebender, I don't think there's any chance that she would have stayed in that relationship, right? Like, I know, and like, some people might be like, oh, well, but maybe she doesn't know about the war. She knows about the war before it happens. And the reason I can tell you that is because most of the people, like, in the outer ring of Ba Sing Se are refugees, right? So they are there most likely because the Fire Nation attacked them. So she most likely knows about the whole war and stuff. And if she knows about the war, she probably wouldn't be too happy about, like, Zuko's family's role in it, right? So I feel like even if she thought that Zuko had changed, I don't know if she would be able to overcome the fact that Zuko has been on the wrong side of this before, and Zuko's family is the one that has started and perpetuated that war. I think that would kill the relationship, right? Now, if you were to disagree, like, if you really don't think that would kill the relationship, then there's a couple other things I think would kill the relationship between Jin and Zuko. And here's another one. Jin, like I said before, like, she has a very agreeable personality, but I don't think that that's the kind of personality that Zuko would want or need, right? And you might be scratching your head like, oh, he likes May. Isn't she agreeable? No. May is very not disagreeable. Like, she's very fierce and she's very opinionated. Like, obviously when she's around Zuko, she's not always like that, but she does have that. And I do think that Zuko is the kind of person who does want that in his partner. He needs a partner who can be that way, who can be fiery sometimes, just like him, right? And when looking at Jin, like, I feel like she has a little bit of that, but I don't think she has it in quite the same way that someone like May does, right? Or maybe even someone like Katara, even if we bring her in, I don't think she has like that same passion. So I think that Zuko would actually be attracted to Jin. Like, I think there would be a mutual attraction. I just don't think there would be a mutual passion, right? Like, when you're in a relationship, I think sometimes people, like, they hop into relationships because they're attracted to someone, but they don't have like a passion. They don't have like that burning craving to be with this person, right? And like, I'm talking about in a way that is not sexual, in a way that is not like just lovey-dovey feelings, right? Like, they don't have like that passion, that eagerness to be with this person, regardless of if, you know, we're making out or we're doing other things. I don't think a lot of people think about that. Like, you have to, in a relationship, you have to be with someone who you feel that same way about, whether you're doing sexual stuff or not. Otherwise, I feel like it's gonna run out. Like, the feelings are not gonna last, and it's gonna run out, basically. Maybe not in every relationship, but like, I feel like, especially for someone as passionate as Zuko is, he's gonna need that. And I think he has that with May, but I don't think he has that with Jin. And I don't think their personalities would really allow for that, basically. Right? So there's that. There's the fact that he's Fire Nation, the fact that like him and his family's actions have led to a lot of suffering for her and probably a lot of the people that she loves and cares about, right? So there's that. And I think those two things combined would be enough to make it so that maybe if you didn't know, it could last for a little bit, but it would be like a summer fling, basically, right? This is going to be a relationship that does not last all that long. Maybe a couple months at most. And then they both just kind of go their separate ways, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's what I think about Jinko. And obviously, if anyone has any questions or anything, I'll keep talking about that ship specifically. But for now, I'm done with that. I'm going to talk about why Zutara does not work for me, right? Now, first of all, like, on paper, Zutara is a better ship than, say, Katang, right? I agree with that. Or at least, like, kind of used to. Now I have actually turned it around. I actually like Katang more now than Zutara. And a lot of it has to do with it straight up just makes more sense, I feel. And I know that's a hot button topic, but I really do think it makes more sense. I'm not going to go into that right now, but that's what I think about that. But basically, we have to look at it this way. The thing I said about Jinko not working out because there's no passion, I think that there would be a lot of passion in this relationship, right? I'm not even going to doubt that for a second. That's going to be, and I think that's going to be the main thing that they have that makes their relationship work. I feel like this is a relationship that could work for a year or more, right? So there's going to be a whole lot of passion, and there's going to be a whole lot of respect, right? It's going to be a ton of respect. So, like, there might not be quite as much, like, mutual attraction as with Jin. I think Zuko would probably be more, like, straight up attracted to Jin. But I think that, he would have, like, 10 times more passion for Katara. And it's because, you know, like, some of it is, like, the opposites attract thing. But also, it's like, she's a bender, right? And I'm not saying that makes her better than Jin. It doesn't. But I think that is going to kind of get into it. Now, I'm going to read a comment real quick. I don't crave going out with girls anyway. Also, remember when Bolin was attracted to Korra? Yeah, I do remember that. I didn't like it that much. But, basically, to get back into Zutara, right? So there's going to be a whole lot of passion. They're both benders, and they're both, like, fighters, right? So that's also going to contribute to the passion because, like, Zuko is basically dealing with a woman who can kick his ass, right? He's dealing with a woman, like, who, like, can go toe-to-toe with him and beat him. So there's going to be a lot of passion there, right? But, like, the passion is gonna be, I think, the thing that gets to them. Cause they, like, I think, the respect thing, like, they both lost their mothers, and they both have, like, this soft side and this hard side that comes from their upbringing. So yeah, I do think that like the respect and the passion are off the charts. The problem is, I know I did say earlier that passion is a really good thing in a relationship. It is, but it's kind of like that thing where too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. I think that's basically what would happen in this relationship. They would be too passionate, right? Like, because they're both like exceptionally powerful benders and they're both exceptionally powerful personalities, I feel like they would argue a lot and I feel like they would disagree a lot. And these arguments and these disagreements would be heated, right? Like, this isn't gonna be like a normal argument. They're gonna be up in each other's face and they're gonna like, we're not gonna fight or anything, but I'm not gonna say that there won't be some water and some fire pushed out. Like, it's gonna get like that. Right? Zuko is gonna do dumb stuff, right? He's gonna do dumb crap or make stupid mistakes or decisions, right? And like Katara's gonna be like, I told you that wasn't the right decision, and they're gonna get into like fights about that sort of thing. And then when Zuko messes up, right? He's gonna have like a temper. It's not gonna be the same as it used to be, but it's still, even in the show, you could tell that like that part of him never really went away. He still kind of has like that hot temper, right? So like that's gonna be in the relationship, right? Like with Aang barely has that, right? Aang is a sweetheart, right? So she's not gonna have that problem with Aang. Like, if Aang needs help or needs guidance, right? Katara, like he's gonna listen to Katara, right? Like, it's not gonna be a thing where I told you not to do that and you did it anyway, or I told you not to say that and it hurt me, right? Cause that's another thing. Like, Zuko probably isn't gonna hold that much back. You can see that with him and May, right? Where like when him and May like get into arguments, he's not afraid to go there. He's not afraid to show the temper or to get angry. And she's not afraid to call him out for it. But it's like, I feel like May would have maybe a little bit more patience with that than Katara would. Katara would understand it probably more. Like, I'm not gonna say that she wouldn't understand it more. She probably would. But I don't think she would put up with it as much, right? So they're gonna be getting in each other's face. They're gonna be getting heated. But like at the same time, right? I feel like they're also gonna be like getting back together over and over. So like they're gonna have a strong relationship, but it's not gonna be consistent either, right? Like they're gonna be getting into big arguments, breaking up. Everyone's gonna think that they're done. And then a week later, they'll be back together. A month later, they'll be back together, right? It's gonna work like that, in my opinion. I'm gonna pause to read another comment. David Cohen. Well, to be fair, Zuko and Katara learned to trust each other. Zuko helped Katara find her mother's killer, and Zuko is a genuine guy. Yes, that's the thing. Like, I'm not talking about that. I said that they did have the respect for each other, and that's kind of what you're going into. Yeah, they have an immense amount of respect for each other, but what I'm saying is it's not the respect that's going to destroy the relationship, in my opinion. It's going to be the passion, and it's going to be like the headstrongness. We're talking about two of the most stubborn people in like the Avatar world that we see, right? Like, when Katara believes something, she really believes it. When Zuko believes something, he really believes it. They're so similar in that way that I think it's gonna inevitably end up making them butt heads, right? So they're gonna be having big fights a lot, and they're gonna be misunderstanding each other a lot, and they're gonna be like, you know, breaking up and getting back together a lot, in my opinion, right? That's how I feel that relationship is gonna go, basically. And because of that, I would say, yeah, these two could survive a lot, and they could go through like a year of a relationship. But it's gonna be those personalities butting heads that is gonna end up with them not even necessarily breaking up, but like coming to like the mutual understanding. Like, I think they're both gonna get it. I think what's gonna happen is they're both gonna come to the mutual understanding that their relationship isn't healthy. They respect each other and they love each other, but their relationship isn't healthy because they both have very strong personalities, right? And they fight too much. they fight too much and they separate too much, right? Even though they understand each other, they're still not getting anywhere. So I think after about a year, both of them would be like, you know what, we tried and it just didn't work. But we still want to be friends. Obviously, like we're not going to stop talking to each other. We still want to be friends. We still care about each other, and there's still that passion there. But like in terms of a relationship, we're not going to make it. Basically, I think they would both be able to acknowledge that. Now, this is just my opinion. If you think that they could overcome those issues, that's okay. I don't really think that they could. I think that that would keep them from being in a serious relationship for like the rest of their lives. I think it would work for a year, maybe even two, but it's not going to work for like 30 years, 40 years, right? So that's the like reason why I feel like Zutara could work, but it would not like end up with like an end game relationship like Katang. Alright, so now I'm gonna be talking about like the ship that probably happened, like the dumb thing about avatars that we have all these gaps. So I can't even technically prove that this is the ship that happened. And a lot of people are gonna use that alone to tell me that this ship is bad or this ship didn't happen or didn't work just because they broke up in the comics. Like I do know about that. But I don't think they're gonna stay broken up. And I also kind of think that like the circumstances between them breaking up weren't the best. Mei and Zuko, and I've already kind of went into this, Mei and Zuko, in my opinion, are the best of these ships out of the three. And I think that this is a ship where, yeah, there's gonna be the arguing, yeah, there's gonna be the misunderstanding, but in the end, eventually they're gonna find like a way to balance each other out, and they're gonna grow from these arguments. Like they're not. The reason I think that, you know, Zutara won't work is because they're gonna have these arguments, but I don't think they're ever gonna find a good way to like settle the arguments. I think the arguments are just gonna keep happening, right? They're gonna keep butting heads and they're not gonna have a good way to stop it from happening. Basically. But with Mei and Zuko, right? I feel like Mei and Zuko have shown, right, that they can have these arguments and they can understand each other in the end. Like, they might have really big arguments, but like at the end of the day, they understand that they need each other, right? They understand that they can work on each other to be better, right? Like, Mei can make Zuko be more rational and be less emotional, and Zuko can bring out like the parts of Mei that like she suppresses because of her upbringing, right? See, the thing with Zuko and Katara is neither one of them are suppressed, and they have like this agreement. Expressive, right? And Zuko is incredibly expressive. But I also think that can be a bad thing when those personalities are around each other and they have like this agreement or they have a fight, right? Like you're going to end up with things being said that can't be taken back. And you're going to end up with things being done that can't be taken back, in my opinion, right? I feel like they're going to balance out, right? Like Zuko and Katara, they might balance out a couple times, but it's never going to be genuine, right? One of them is always going to kind of be like, wow, like, I let this go and I really didn't want to let this go. Or I really don't feel like I was being listened to, right? I think there's going to be that problem, whereas Zuko and Mei, I feel like they're actually going to work that problem out because Mei is more like mellow than Zuko is. And Zuko, like Mei's effect on Zuko is that she makes him more mellow, right? So like I said, it's like the Jin thing, right? I was saying with Jin that I don't think she has like the capacity to be the same, to bring the same kind of passion out of Zuko that I think that Mei would, right? Not to say that she doesn't have any like passion or anything. I'm not saying that. This is mostly to say that I feel like she has it, but she doesn't have like the type that Zuko needs, right? Like she's not going around throwing knives at people for fun, right? Like, man, like she doesn't have like that kind of killer passion to her that's gonna push like Zuko over the edge in terms of his infatuation, right? She doesn't have like that pert personality, right? Because some people like that. I think that's something about May that Zuko likes. He might not like the emotionless stuff, but I think he really does like the fact that like when she believes in something or when she wants to do something, when she puts her head to it, she can get it. She's kind of like that she kind of has like that drivenness that I think that he likes. And I know that her personality is that like she doesn't care about anything, but that's when she's not with Zuko. When May is with Zuko, like I said before, her personality changes. You see her being much more active, much more driven, right? Much more happy. And it's because of Zuko. She's bringing the best out of him, which is one of the reasons why I think that that relationship works. They're bringing the best out of each other. Like they're really getting something out of that, right? They're both putting in something and getting something out. Whereas I feel like with Zuko and Katara, they're both maybe putting too much in, and because of that, they're not getting as much out as they should be, right? That's just my opinion, but I feel like that's what would happen. But I feel like, with Mei and Zuko, they're balancing each other out in a very healthy way, in a way that makes them both happy, and in a way that makes them both grow like a ton, right? I feel like that's what's happening there. They're both like growing from the experience, in which case I feel like Zuko and Katara are both kind of picking away at each other because they're two big personalities.